This is Hazley, and it's been 2 years. I've been sitting with this sentence for a while now, trying to figure out how to say it without it sounding like an excuse, because it isn't one, really. It's just true. 2 years passed, and the strange part isn't that they passed. The strange part is how they passed. Quietly, without announcement, the way times tend to do when you stop paying attention to it. There's something almost garden wall about that, actually. The show opens with two brothers already lost. They didn't decide to get lost. They didn't see it coming. One moment they were somewhere familiar, and then they weren't. And the unknown doesn't announce itself. It's just sort of surrounds you. I think a lot about how that's also just life sometimes. You blink and 2 years are gone. You blink and you're still holding the same unfinished things, the same half-started projects, the same lantern. Not quite sure if it's still lit. So this piece, this fan art I made a while back and never properly talked about, tonight we're finally going to. If you've never seen Over the Garden Wall, first of all, please go watch it. It's only about 2 hours total. It's a mini-series, but I'll give you the shape of it. Two brothers, Wirt and Greg, get lost in a forest called the Unknown. That's the premise. Simple. Except the unknown is not simple at all. It's this layered, strange, melancholic place that pulls from American folk tales, old Halloween imagery, early 20th century illustration, and something harder to name, a feeling, more than a genre. Like nostalgia for something you never actually quite experienced. The show is funny and cozy, and then suddenly devastating. It holds all of those things at once without apologizing for any of them. And it ends in a way that reframes everything you thought you were watching. It's one of those pieces of media that genuinely shaped how I think about storytelling. When I made this illustration, the thing I kept coming back to was, how do you make something feel like the show feels, not just look like? Because the show has a specific emotional texture. It's warm and intimate in the foreground and enormous and threatening in the background. The brothers are always small against something much bigger than them, but they kept moving anyway. That's the structure of this piece. Wirt is centered, holding the lantern, the literal and symbolic light source of both the image and the story. Greg is just behind him, slightly smaller, wearing his teapot in his head, holding a rock. The rock. The forest rises behind them, and above everything, watching, not quite there. Not quite not there. It's the beast. The frame itself is designed to feel like a page from a book you'd find in an old library. The vines, the border, the typography. I wanted the whole thing to feel like a memory, slightly worn at the edges. In the show, the beast is one of the more genuinely unsettling antagonists in animation. Not because he's loud or violent or ugly, but because he's patient. He operates through fear, through doubt, through the specific voice in your head that says, you'll never make it. You might as well give up and let me carry that for you. He feeds on lost souls, literally. He turns them into elderwood trees to fuel his lantern. But metaphorically, he feeds on a part of you that's already given up. In the illustration, I didn't want to draw him literally. I wanted him to feel like he does in the show, more atmosphere than creature. His silhouette looms at the top of the frame, antlers spreading like branches, eyes glowing without warmth. He's part of the sky, he's part of the forest. The ambiguity is intentional because in the unknown, the line between the natural and the supernatural is never really clear. He belongs there. That's what makes him frightening. The lantern Wirt is holding is not just a prop. A lantern in this world is a question. Whose lights are you carrying? What is it made of? I placed it in the absolute center of the composition. Everything else orbits it. The warmth glowed across the pumpkins, across the grass, across the characters. Because in the unknown, and maybe in general, the thing that keeps you moving is uncertainty, is just deciding to keep the light going. Greg is wearing a pot on his head. This is canon. This is who he is. Greg is the character in the show who treats everything as an adventure. Not because he doesn't understand the danger, he just refuses to let it be the loudest thing in the room. He names the frog. He makes up songs. He holds rocks and announces that they are, in fact, rock fact. That kind of optimism isn't naivety, it's a choice. And I think that's actually the harder thing to hold on to. Not hope when things are easy, but hope when you're genuinely lost in the woods. The cup catching the sun was my small way of honoring that in the background. At the bottom left of the piece, there's the frog. The frog doesn't have a name for most of the show. Greg calls him various things. It's a whole subplot. And by the end, you get a reveal about the frog that recontextualizes a lot of what you've been watching. I won't spoil it, but it's one of these moments where you realize the show was doing something much quieter and more emotion than you noticed. Now, some of you might be wondering about Beatrice, the bluebird, a girl who was transformed into a bird as a part of the family curse, who travels with the brothers and whose relationship with Wirt is generally one of the emotional cores of the series, because Beatrice's arc is all about guilt and loyalty and what it means to try to make something right when you've already done the damage. Earns her ending, and I wanted her somewhere in the frame. Here's one that I love the most, and almost no one catches on the first look. I feel like the teacup on the background, it's still a little bit more unnoticeable, but this one as well was one of the things that I was really intentional since the beginning. Hidden in the illustration, worked on the border, easy to miss if you're not looking, are a pair of scissors. The scissors on the background are an nod to her. I just think it's a beautifully done concept of literally the strings she had to cut through her guilt of the damage that was done, of everything, and it was just a beautiful symbolism that I could not have thrown away to this piece. The pumpkins in the foreground are doing a few things at once. The most direct reference is to Pottsfield, one of the earlier episodes, where the brothers arrive in a town that turns out to be run by skeletons wearing pumpkins as heads. It's absurd and creepy and oddly wholesome and completely emblematic of what the show does. But beyond the episode reference, pumpkin are just the visual language of Over the Garden Wall. The show exists in permanent autumn, not the cozy weather version of autumn, kinda, but the older, the darker one. The one that knows winter is coming, and the one with the fog and bare branches and that particular quality of light at 4 p.m. in October. Even though I live in Brazil and it is actually during April, October just sounds more misty. Where everything looks golden and slightly sad at the same time. Now, the palette I pulled directly from the show's visual language: warm oranges, dusty rose, soft lavender. The gradient in the sky is meant to sit in that strange between moment. Not quite sunset, not quite night. The unknown doesn't really have a time of day, it just has that light. But honestly, it's just because that's also my preferred color palette and I tend to stick to it. I just wanted to make an excuse about it. This video was a little different for me. Usually when I post art, I let the image speak for itself, maybe a time lapse, maybe a little bit of storytelling, but this time I actually wanted to talk about it. To sit with the show, the symbolism, the choices I made in the composition, do a little research, pull the threads, see what was actually there, and honestly, I really liked it. There is something satisfying about going deeper into something you love. Not just drawing it, but actually thinking through why it moves you. Why a frog without a name can make you emotional. The story earns it. So this was the first, more essay-style, research-backed kind of video. And I don't know if it's something I'll do every time or even often. I genuinely don't even know when I'll be back. But kind of feels fitting, right? Because neither does anyone who wandered into the unknown. But I figured if there was any subject worth doing this for the first time with, it was this one. If you have thoughts on this format, I'd really love to know. Did you prefer this kind of in-depth breakdown? Is there a show, a film, a piece of media you'd want to see me do this with next? Leave in the comments. I read them, even when I'm quiet. Thanks for watching and for waiting. Hopefully not see you in 2 years. But sooner, that's what I mean.